everyone, it's Leslie Dale here for the TFP. Our digital team today is working with photographer Doug Strickland. Thanks for being with us.
Oh, happy to.
And thank you for bringing these strong images from July 16th. Doug is going to be going over some of these images that he took with us. I'm going to be looking at them while you're looking at them. For me, the first time too. So let's start talking about your experience that day and then move forward to these images.
Well, I was actually, I was on night shift the day of shooting. So I was actually just kind of climbing out of bed when I got a phone call from my editor. And this was kind of at the point in the morning where we didn't really know exactly what was going on. We knew that there had been a shooting. We had some information about it. But we really didn't know how serious it had been. So he was calling me in to cover someone else's assignments while they were stuck at the scene. And I said, yeah, you know, I'll start getting ready. I'll get in when I can get in. And he called me back about 5 minutes later and said, get here as soon as you can. This is way worse than we thought it was. And so I threw on some clothes, threw my gear in the car, and checked Twitter for the first time. That's part of my normal morning routine, and saw that media outlets were reporting that 4 Marines had been shot and killed in Chattanooga, and really knew that this was serious, that this was bad. So by the time I had made my way downtown, we already had photographers at just about every location. So I made my way to Erlanger, the emergency room where they had brought some of the wounded, waited outside for a little while, and then made my way to the blood bank where people were lined up around the block. I think they said there was maybe a 3 or a 4 hour wait to donate blood. And yeah, people were waiting to donate.
And you have that image, correct?
Yes. So we have here, this was one of the first photos I made from the day. And everybody was in the blood bank donating blood, and the television was on, or multiple TVs were on, and the press conference where we finally were going to get our first bit of information, verified information about what had happened, and everyone just kind of stopped, and the whole room got real quiet, and everybody's eyes were just kind of glued to the television. The last time I remember seeing anything like that was probably after September 11th. And gradually, as Chief Fletcher talked on TV and Mayor Burke talked, people got back to doing what they were doing. They went back to drawing blood. They went back to giving blood. But it was sort of
a moment,
a real, like this was when we knew for sure what had happened. I mean, we had confirmed at that point a lot of details, but this was the first time it was really being aired by public officials.
Okay. So from that sobering moment on, where did you go? What can you show us?
Well, from there, I had taken a few photos outside the emergency room and some photos from the blood bank. So I came back into the newsroom to put those in so that we could have something to go online. And it was about mid-afternoon, I think, and we just got confirmation of the shooter's name from a source. And as soon as we knew his name, we knew where he lived.
He was from Chattanooga.
From Chattanooga, yeah. And so we had an address, and we knew what was about to happen. Because whenever this sort of thing happens, there's always a police raid of whoever it was' home.
Right.
So a reporter and myself, we raced off to, it was off of Hickson Pike. I think it was on Big Ridge.
Okay.
And we got to the house. There were no police there, no media there. We thought we were in the wrong place.
Wow.
But we knew that they were staging down at what was the old Food Lion parking lot on Hickson Pike. So we went down there, and we found the FBI, Chattanooga Bomb Squad, Chattanooga SWAT, all with long guns, body armor, ready to go.
And these guys are about to
this is them taking off. We actually we realized we had been in the right place and started to go back up, and they basically blew around us going up Big Ridge, and then by that point, the police locked the neighborhood down. I believe there was maybe an AP videographer who had been in the neighborhood who got permission to be inside somebody's house and film the raid from there. But other than that, that was kind of where things stopped. So I went from there because at that point we couldn't get into the neighborhood anymore.
Right. What are you thinking? What are you thinking at this point, going from the blood bank to the suspect's home being bombarded by all this law enforcement? What are you thinking in your job?
Well, my first thought was I was worried because the bomb. I'm sure the CPD was worried that maybe he had booby trapped his house, something like that, because they had the bomb squad
So
there.
you were scared.
Yeah, I was worried about that, but more than anything else, I was just kind of reacting on instinct at this point. It was kind of just when you're covering breaking news, it's kind of like something happens, you respond. Something happens, you respond. Mm-hmm. And you kind of move on autopilot and process later. And it really wasn't until, so from here I went back to the newsroom because we had heard that there was going to be sort of the first vigil for victims of the shooting that night. And
okay.
it really wasn't until I got to this that things sort of hit home, because it was a chance for me to slow down and process things kind of at the same time that the people I was photographing were processing things.
Like these people.
And that was really, I think, the point where the seriousness that not only that this had happened, but this had happened in my hometown. I'm a Chattanooga native. I grew up here. Chattanooga is my city just as much as anybody else. And
so sad.
Yeah, it was this point where I kind of had to pause for a little while and really reflect on what had happened.
Yeah.
And from there, after the shooter's house had been raided, that was kind of the end of the breaking coverage. And everything from that point on was sort of memorial after vigil after funeral.
This is another vigil here.
It is. That was, I want to say that was Friday night at Olivet Baptist Church. So this was the city's official, I think, memorial service. So lots of police turned out for the service. It was an interfaith service, and the Islamic Center of Chattanooga, in an effort to show solidarity, also turned out a huge crowd to this service, and said that they wanted to be there and show their support because they were appalled by what had happened.
Right. And we're also covering that side of the story this week, how the Muslim community has been treated by the community and vice versa. So we'll also have that for you on timesfreepress.com.
From there, I had not actually been to either of the shooting sites until Saturday.
Okay.
So I hadn't really seen the beginnings of the memorials that formed, but by the time I got there on Saturday, at least at the recruitment center on Lee Highway, the memorial had grown to at least 250 feet long. It was just massive, and I think the reason that it formed there was probably because that was the most accessible place at the time. The Naval Reserve Center was still mostly shut down to any sort of traffic while investigators did their thing. So I think this was kind of the place that people gravitated to. And
the families here.
Yes. So this photo I took. I didn't know exactly who they were at the time. I kind of had an idea because there were lots of people at the memorial site who were upset, who were crying, but this was a family who kind of seemed to stand out from the others. There was they seemed like they had a genuine reason to be there, a real connection to what had happened, and
you can see that.
I saw that a few of them were wearing Arkansas t-shirts, University of Arkansas. I knew that David Wyatt, Staff Sergeant Wyatt, had been an Arkansas native before he joined the Marine Corps. And so I took a few photos of them while I was there, and then I kind of left them alone. They didn't want to talk at the time because I wanted very much to be able to say who they were, but they understandably didn't want that. But I gave them my card. I said, if you ever want to talk, please call me. And a couple of days later, Deborah Wyatt, the lady in white on the right side of the photo, who is Staff Sergeant Wyatt's mother, sent me a few text messages. Out of the blue, she absolutely didn't have to do this, just to tell me who she was and who the woman with her was, his sister. I was amazed. She had no reason to do that. She just wanted to make sure that I knew who they were.
So you could pay tribute to her son.
Exactly, and I was very touched by that.
Yeah, the picture says it all. And then Biden came to town. Looks very emotional himself.
Yes.
Here.
So this is actually after the funerals.
Vice President Biden.
Yes, Vice President Biden came. I think this was. I want to say this was 2 months after the shooting. This was the Navy memorial, and it was also maybe a week or two after his son died.
Beau Biden.
Yes. So it was. He got probably. I think he was more emotional during the speech than I believe I've ever seen him. Just in very brief moments, like in this photo.
Another real moment.
And he spoke for a very long time, and this was the memorial service at McKenzie Arena. So this was the one attended by lots of Marines, lots of sailors. I think the Secretary of Defense was also here for that.
Huge.
And at the end of the ceremony, they did the sounding the bell, or maybe
the roll call.
The roll call.
The final roll
the
call.
final roll call.
And we're going to be sharing that. We have video of that with you this week. Very sobering moment, very strong moment as well. And then when they played taps at the end of the service. So let's go out on one more picture, one more image from our photographer, Doug Strickland. Thank you so much for sharing these with us, and they will be for you on timesfreepress.com, and we'll continue our July 16th coverage. Really, really appreciate your time and your pictures.
Oh, happy to talk.